Alright, what is up guys, it is Storm back here with another video, and in this one, I'm bringing you a Naruto story that's pretty much what if Naruto took place on the Titanic. So I recently watched the movie Titanic and it was really good, and then I came across this story and, well, I wanted to do it. So in this story, the characters of Naruto replace the characters of Titanic, so Sasuke is the main guy and Sakura is the main girl, and they obviously have a relationship. Naruto is Sasuke's best friend, Sai is Sakura's piece of shit fiance, and other Naruto characters replace other Titanic characters. And with this, I am bringing you the first 7 chapters of the story. Now if you want to check it out for yourself, the link to it will be down in the description below. But before the video begins, if you like the content you're seeing, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment. I mean, they're all free, so why not? If you want some dope channel merch, the link to that will be down in the description below. And if you want to see more of me, be sure to go check out my other channels and go follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, which will all be linked down below. But without further ado, why don't we just dive right on in. Chapter 1, Ghost Ship. The submarine lights casted an eerie glow on the ocean floor. According to the radar, in about 13 meters, the ghost ship should be seen. Then, if going out of nowhere, Titanic. She comes looming into view. Inside, Iruka Umino is giving orders. Okay, take her up and over the rail. Iruka radios MIR2, the second sub. Okay, MIR2, we're going over the bow. Stay with us. The first submarine loomed over the bow of the Titanic. The rust and moss seemed to glow in the underwater lights of the submarine. Both submarines are now over the Titanic. Okay, quiet. We're rolling, Iruka said. Seeing her coming out of the darkness, like a ghost ship, still gets me every time. I see the sad ruin of the great ship sitting here, where she landed at 2:30 in the morning, on April 15th, 1912, and her long fall from the world above. You're so full of shit, boss, snickered Kiba Inuzuka. Outside the submarine, the Titanic was now being seen full on. Where the once busy control room was, now was a rust and moss-covered vast of dark nothingness on the inside. Dive 6. Here we are again on the deck of the Titanic, 2.5 miles down, 3,821 meters. The pressure outside is 3.5 tons per square inch. These windows are 9 inches thick, and if they go, it's sayonara in 2 microseconds. Alright, enough of that bullshit, Iruka said, as he put down the camera he had been filming himself with. The first submarine is looming over the boat's deck, where panicked voices and a calming orchestra were once heard. Just put her down on the officer's quarters like yesterday, Iruka ordered the pilot of the sub. Sure, he responded simply. Okay, MIR2, we have landed right on the grand staircase. You guys set to launch? Iruka asked over the radio. Yeah, Iruka, launching Duncan now. The captain of MIR2 responded. Out of the sub came a small red robot. Okay, Iruka, we're dropping down the hull, said the captain. In the other sub. Roger that. Okay, drop down and go to the first class gangway door. I want you guys working the D-desk reception area and dining saloon, Iruka said. Copy that. Snoop Dogg's on the move, Iruka said. We're heading down the stairwell. Okay, Kiba, drop down to B deck. A deck. Give me some rope, Captain. B deck, get in there, get in there. Duncan glided into B deck. Laying on the floor were a pair of glasses and tattered clothes. Watch the door frame, exclaimed Iruka. We're good, just chill, boss. Make your turn. Cable out, Captain. Make your turn. Watch the wall. Yeah, Iruka, we're at the piano. Do you copy? Said the captain over the radio. Duncan passed over the once valued grand piano, where sweet melodies were once heard. Okay, right here, right here. That's it. That's the bedroom door, exclaimed Iruka. I see it, said Kiba. In came Duncan into a dark room, with the broken down bed in the corner. We're in, baby, we're there, exclaimed Kiba. That's Sai's bed. That's where the son of a bitch slept, Iruka said. Through the hole in a very much destroyed wall, the tube in the washroom comes into view. Oops, somebody left the water running, Kiba said. Hey, hold it a second. Go back to the right, that wardrobe door. Get closer. You smelling something, boss? I want to see what's under there. Give me my hands, man, Kiba said. Duncan's arms began to come out of its robotic body. Alright, said Kiba. Take it easy, it might come apart, Iruka said. Okay, Kiba agreed. Go. Go, 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 go. Flip it over. Go. Keep going. Go, go, go. Duncan's robotic hands begin to lock on the wood frame, getting ready to flip it over on Kiba's signal. Okay, drop it, Iruka told Kiba. The wood fell on the floor with a muffled thud. Iruka then sees an iron safe through the camera of Duncan's left eye. Oh baby, are you seeing this, boss? Asked Kiba, extremely excited. It's payday, boys. Chapter 2. The Woman in the Picture. The crane began to pull up the safe from where Iruka and his crew had discovered it down in the Titanic. Workers began to bring it on board of Keldysh, the research ship they were using. Kiba and Iruka walked up to where the rest of the crew and workers were. Kiba goes and high-fives Shino Aburame. Ch-ching! Exclaims Kiba. We did it, Shino, says Iruka as he shook Shino's hand. Oh yeah, who's the man? Who's the best baby? Say it, say it. Kiba pestered Iruka, nudging him, his arm around his neck. You are, Kiba, Iruka said with a sigh. Kiba side-hugged Iruka and kissed him on the cheek and began to laugh hysterically. A power drill whirled and sparks flew out as it cut the rust-covered safe. Shino, my cigar, Iruka said. Iruka had been saving this cigar for the day that he found the diamond. He refused to light it until he had it in his hands. Right here, replied Shino. At that moment, Kiba popped open a bottle of champagne. Everyone began to cheer as the champagne flew everywhere and on everyone. Kiba stuffed the fizzing champagne foam in his mouth. He looked like as if he had rabies. Okay, crack her open, Iruka said, as the chain that was attached to the safe was pulled and the door was ripped off. At first, nothing came out but muddy water and a few ruined dollar bills. Iruka got down on his knees and began to pull out some of the ruined money. He also pulled out what seemed to be a hardcover folder. He threw it aside. He pulled out more money. He searched in the shelves of the safe, but there was nothing else. Shit, he murmured. No diamond, said the captain of MIR-2. You know, boss, the same thing happened to Geraldo and his career never recovered. Kiba said as sympathetically as he could. Iruka stood. Turn the camera off, Iruka said sternly to the man that was recording all of this. In the lab of Keldysh. Iruka, said Shino, the partners would like to know how it's going. Shino handed him the phone. Hey, partner? Iruka, hi. Look, it wasn't the safe, but hey, don't worry about it. There's still plenty of places it could be. Hell yes, floor debris in the suites, the mother's room, purse is safe on C-deck. That briefcase, added Shino sarcastically. Iruka gave him a hardened look. A dozen other places, Iruka continued. Guys, look, you've got to trust my instincts. I know we're close. We just gotta go through a process of elimination. Iruka then double takes and looks back at the TV monitor, and sees the drawing in the hard case folder that had been found earlier that day in the safe. Hang on a second. Let me see that, he said as he made his way to one of the researchers that was removing the mud from the drawing. We might have something here, guys, said one of the researchers. Iruka took one of the corners of the drawing, of a nude woman wearing nothing but a heart-shaped necklace, holding it in his hand. Where's the photograph of the necklace? He asked in somewhat panic. We'll call you right back. Shino hung up the phone and pointed to the picture on the rope that hung over the sinks. Iruka snatched the picture of the heart-shaped necklace off the clip. He went over to the picture and compared it to the drawing. Then it dawned on him. It was the same. The blue diamond necklace. I'll be goddamned, he said, halfway around the TV. Brought the news to a 100-year-old Sakura. Treasure hunter Iruka Umino is best known for finding Spanish gold. Now he has charted Russian subs to research the most famous shipwreck of all, the Titanic. He is with us live via satellite from the research ship Keldysh in the North Atlantic. Hello, Iruka. Hello, Hinata. Everyone knows the familiar stories of the Titanic, the nobility, the band playing at the very end, and all that. But what I'm interested in are the untold stories, the secrets locked deep inside the hull of the Titanic. We're using robot technology to go further into the wreck than anybody's ever done before. Your expedition is at the center of a storm of controversy over salvage rights and even ethics. Many are calling you a grave robber. Well, nobody called the recovery of artifacts of King Tut's tomb grave robbing. "What is it?" asked Sakura's granddaughter, Shizune. She noticed that her grandmother Sakura had gotten up from her pottery wheel and came up to the TV set. "Turn that up, dear," Sakura said to Shizune. Shizune twisted the volume knob. "I have museum-trained experts out here making sure that these relics are preserved and cataloged properly," Iruka said. "Take a look at this today. A piece of paper that's been underwater for 84 years, and my team was able to preserve it intact. Should this have remained unseen at the bottom of the ocean for eternity?" Sakura looked closer at the picture of the woman with the heart-shaped necklace. She then realized. "I'll be goddamned." On the Keldysh, Shino ran up to Iruka after he put down the phone. "Iruka, there's a satellite call for you." "Shino, we're launching. See these submarines going into the water?" he told Shino, ticked off. "Trust me, buddy. You want to take this call." Iruka thought for a moment. He then followed Shino. "This is better be good. You gotta speak up, she's kind of old." "Great," Iruka said in disdain as he took the phone from Shino. "This is Iruka Umino. How can I help you, Miss Sakura?" "Sakura Calvert," Shino said. "Miss Sakura," Iruka said. "Yes, I was just wondering if you had found the heart of the ocean yet, Mr. Umino," replied Sakura on the other line. Iruka looked at Shino in awe. "Told you wanted to take the call," Shino said, smiling. "Alright, you have my attention, Lady Sakura. Can you tell us who the woman in the picture is?" Iruka said. "Oh yes, the woman in the picture is me," she said with a smile. Chapter 3. Reflection of the Past. The helicopter made its way to the Keldysh. In the helicopter was Sakura Calvert, her granddaughter Shizune, and her small dog Cedar. On the Keldysh. "She's a goddamn liar," Kiba yelled over the roar of the engines. "Some nutcase seeking money or publicity. God only knows why, like that Russian babe, whatever her name was." Shino called to Iruka and Kiba and pointed to the helicopter that would soon be landing. Kiba followed Iruka down and kept trying to convince him. "Sakura Haruno died in the Titanic when she was 17, right?" "That's right," Iruka said, his patience wearing thin. Kiba continued. "If she had lived, she'd be over 100 by now. 101 next month." "Okay, so she's a very old goddamn liar. Look, I've already done the background of that woman all the way back to the 20s when she was working as an actress. An actress as your first clue, Sherlock. Her name was Sakura Uchiha back then. Then she marries this guy named Calvert. They moved to Cedar Rapids and she punches out a couple of kids. Now Calvert's dead, and from what I hear, Cedar Rapids is dead. And everybody who knows about the diamond is supposed to be dead or on this boat. But she knows," Iruka said. The helicopter began to land on the vast space of the ship designed for landing. Workers began to bring dozens of luggage bags and suitcases. "Doesn't exactly travel light, does she?" Kiba asked Shino. The men began to lower Sakura into her wheelchair from the helicopter. Cedar curled up on her lap. "Lady Sakura, I'm Iruka Umino. Welcome to the Keldysh." She shook his hand as they lowered her to the ground. "Okay, let's get her inside there. Hi, Mrs. Calvert," he greeted Shizune. "Hi," she replied, shaking his hand. "Welcome to the Keldysh." One of the men in the helicopter handed Iruka Sakura's tank of goldfish and Sakura's stateroom. Sakura's room was already full with all of her things. She was just setting up the last of her pictures. A knock was heard on her door. "Yes?" she called in. Iruka came in and Kiba was waving from the outside. "Are your staterooms alright?" Iruka asked. "Oh yes, very nice," replied Sakura. "Have you met my granddaughter, Shizune? She takes care of me. We just met a few minutes ago." Sakura passed her wrinkled hand through her white hair. Kiba gave Iruka a skeptical look. Iruka ignored him and smiled at Sakura. "Can I get you anything? Is there anything you'd like?" Sakura looked at Iruka. "Yes, I would like to see my drawing." In the lab, Sakura looked down at the glass container that was filled with water and stared down at her picture. She closed her eyes. Flashback. The black charcoal pencil moved delicately across the paper. He looked up at her and looked back down. He shook his bangs away from his eyes. End of flashback. Louis XVI wore a fabulous stone that was called the Blue Diamond of the Crown, which disappeared in 1792, about the same time old Louis lost everything from the neck up, explained Iruka. The theory goes that the crown diamond was chopped to recut into a heart-like shape that became known as the Heart of the Ocean. Today, it'd be worth more than the Hope Diamond. It was a dreadful, heavy thing. I only wore it this once, said Sakura. You actually think this is you, Granny Sakura? Asked Shizune. It is me, dear. Wasn't I a dish? I traced it down through insurance records, Iruka said. An old claim that was settled under terms of absolute secrecy. Can you tell me who the claimant was, Sakura? I should imagine someone named Hockley. Orochimaru Hockley. That's right. Pittsburgh steel tycoon. Claim was for a diamond necklace for his son. Sai bought his fiancée, you, a week before he sailed in the Titanic. It was filled right after the sinking, so the diamond had to have gone down with the ship. You see the date, Shizune? He asked her. She leaned in to see the drawing. April 14th, 1912, she replied. Which means if your grandmother is who she says she is, Kiba said. She was wearing the diamond the day the Titanic sank. And which makes you my new best friend, Iruka told Sakura with a wide smile. Kiba raised an eyebrow and gave Iruka a hardened look. In another part of the lab. These are some of the things that we recovered from your stateroom, Iruka told Sakura. She gasped slightly. She picked up her old mirror. Shizune kneeled down beside her. This was mine. How extraordinary. And it looks the same as it did the last time I saw it. She turned the mirror and looked at her reflection. The mirror had a crack in it and a few chippings. The reflection has changed a bit. She put it back into the cloth with her other things. Sakura gasped quietly as she picked up her butterfly comb. It had a few breaks in it. Sakura's bottom lip began to tremble as though she was about to cry. Iruka knelt down beside her. Are you ready to go back to the Titanic? Iruka asked. AV/monitor room. Kiba brought around a TV to help him demonstrate the destruction phase. Okay, here we go. She hits the berg on the starboard side, right? She kind of bumps along punching holes like Morse code. Dit 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 along the side below the waterline. Then the forward compartments start to flood. Now as the water level rises, it spills over the watertight bulkheads which, unfortunately, don't go any higher than E-deck. So now as the bow goes down, the stern rises up slow at first, then faster and faster until finally, she's got her whole ass is sticking up in the air. And that is a big ass. We're talking 20,000, 30,000 tons, okay? And the hull's not designed to deal with that pressure. So what happens? She splits, right down to the keel and the stern falls back level. Then as the bow sinks, it pulls the stern vertical and finally detaches. Now the stern section just kind of bobs there like a cork for a couple of minutes, floods and finally goes under around 2:20 AM, 2 hours and 40 minutes after the collision. The bow section planes away, landing about a half-mile away, going 20-30 knots when it hits the ocean floor. Pretty cool, huh? Kiba finished. Thank you for that fine forensic analysis, Mr. Inuzuka. Of course, the experience of it was somewhat different, Sakura said. Will you share it with us? Iruka asked. Sakura stood up from her wheelchair. Everyone came towards her in case she were to fall. She made her way to the monitor where the cameras that were on the Titanic, the footage was being screened. Sakura felt as though she was about to burst in tears when she saw the doors. She remembered the gentleman that opened the doors and the sweet music that once played. Sakura covered her face and began to cry a little. Shizune came over to her. I'm taking her to rest, she said. No, Sakura said quietly. Come on now, Granny Sakura. No, exclaimed Sakura. She sat back down in her wheelchair. Tape recorder, Iruka said to Shino. He handed it to him. Iruka turned it on and sat down. Tell us, Sakura. It's been 84 years. It's okay, just try to remember anything. Anything at all. Do you want to hear about this or not, Mr. Umino? Sakura asked almost impatiently. He nodded. It's been 84 years, and I can still smell the fresh paint. The china had never been used. The sheets had never been slept in. The Titanic was called the Ship of Dreams. And it was. It really was. Chapter 4. Southampton. Southampton, April 1912. The grandest ship in the world, the Titanic, was sitting in her harbor, waiting to cast off. The people that were already board were waving to the crowd below. Everyone in the crowd was either marveling at the ship or going through a health inspection, if you were of third class, unloading luggage and or boarding the grand ship. But if you were a certain young 17-year-old girl, your story would be different. 3 cars pulled up in the crowd. The footman of the first car helped Sakura Haruno out of the car. Sakura was young, her hair a bright shade of pink, she had deep green emerald eyes. She was a young woman of privilege, in simpler words. Her enormous purple hat tilted as she looked up at the Titanic. Her black and white suit complemented her whole outfit, and finished off with a pair of white gloves. Next came Sakura's fiancé, Sai Hockley. She turned towards him. I don't see what all the fuss is about. It doesn't look any bigger than the Mauritania. You can be blasé about some things, Sakura, but not about the Titanic, replied Sai. It's over 100 feet longer than the Mauritania and far more luxurious. Sai helped Sakura's mother, Tsunade, out of the car. Your daughter is far too difficult to impress, Tsunade. Tsunade smirked at Sai. So, this is the ship that they say is unsinkable, commented Tsunade. It is unsinkable. God himself could not sink this ship, chided Sai. A uniformed man came up to Sai. Sir, you may have to check your baggage through the main terminal. It's round this way, sir. Sai placed a few bills in the man's gloved hand. I put my faith in you, good sir. Now kindly see my man. Sai strolled away to where Sakura and Tsunade were. Yes, sir. My pleasure, sir. If I can do anything at all, said the man. Kabuto Yakushi tapped on the man's shoulder. Oh, yes, right. All the trunks from this car are there, 12 from here, and the safe, to the parlor suite, rooms B52, 54, 56. Tsunade, Sakura, and Sai made their way to boarding the Titanic. It was the ship of dreams to everyone else. To me, it was a slave ship taking me back to America in chains. I was everything a well-brought-up girl should be. Inside, I was screaming. The ship's steam whistle blew loudly. In the local bar. In the bar near Titanic's port were two Swedish men playing poker with two younger men. One was a loudmouth 18-year-old with spiky blonde and playful blue eyes. The other was a good-looking 19-year-old raven-haired with somewhat cold onyx eyes. Most people when they saw him thought that he was older because he was good-looking and more mature than his age let on. The blonde was Naruto Uzumaki. The raven-haired was Sasuke Uchiha. The bets were a watch, some money, and 2 third-class tickets to Titanic. Sasuke, you're crazy, Naruto said to his friend quietly. You bet everything we have. When you got nothing to lose. One of the men turned to the other and told him in Swedish, You moron, I can't believe you bet our tickets. Sven? Sasuke asked. He didn't say anything and traded a card with Sasuke. Sasuke put down the card that Sven had given him and took another one from his stack. Alright, said Sasuke. Moment of truth. Somebody's life about to change. Naruto? Naruto threw down his cards. Nothing, said Naruto. Olaf? Nothing. Sven? Sven laid down his cards with pride. Uh-oh, 2 pair. I'm sorry, Naruto. Naruto began to cuss. You bet all of our money. Sasuke put his hand on his fuming friend's shoulder in order to calm. I'm sorry, you're not gonna see your home for a long time. Because we're going to America. Full house, boys. Naruto and Sasuke began to rejoice. Sasuke began to collect the money when Olaf grabbed him from his shirt. He began to cuss in Swedish and raise his fist. Sasuke looked away and shuttled one eye. The punch landed on Sven square in the nose. Sasuke grabbed the tickets. I'm going home, rejoiced Sasuke. He and Naruto hugged and began to dance. I'm going home, said Sasuke again. I'm going to America, exclaimed Naruto. The bartender said, No, mate. The Titanic goes to America in 5 minutes. 11:55. Oh shit, thought Sasuke. Come on, here. Naruto put the money in the sack Sasuke had. At the Titanic. We're riding in high style now, Sasuke exclaimed, as he and Naruto ran to catch the Titanic. We're a couple of regulars. We're practically goddamn royalty, dope. You see, it's my destiny. Like I told you, I'm going to America to be a millionaire. Sasuke jumped in front of the horse and ran back to Naruto. You're crazy. Maybe, but I've got the tickets. Come on, I thought you said you were fast. The door was about to close. Wait, we're passengers. Passengers, Sasuke exclaimed. He handed the tickets to the man. Have you been through the inspection queue? Of course, said Sasuke. Anyway, we don't have any lice. We're Americans. Both of us. Right, come aboard. The two ran down the corridors. Sasuke exclaimed to Naruto, We're the luckiest sons of bitches in the world, you know that? On the Titanic's stern, Sasuke and Naruto made their way to where everyone was waving goodbye to the crowds. Goodbye, called Sasuke. You know somebody? asked Naruto. Of course not. That's not the point. "Goodbye, I'll miss you. I'm never gonna forget you," exclaimed Naruto. The Titanic began to slowly pull away from her harbor. Everyone was still waving and cheering. Chapter 5: Departure. Sasuke and Naruto made their way back down to the third class level and began to look for their staterooms. 360, murmured Sasuke, checking all the numbers of the doors. Oh, right here. Sasuke and Naruto walked in and 2 Swedish men were already in the room. Sasuke greeted both men. He turned around and saw that Naruto had taken the top bunk. "Who says you get top bunk, huh, dope?" Sasuke punched him playfully and laid down in the bottom bunk. The hyperactive blonde leaned over the bunk and looked down at the Uchiha. "Nobody did, you bastard, but you were too slow." He began to laugh. Sasuke gave him an annoyed look and laid back down, and as everything else that Naruto does, he overdid it and fell out of the top bunk. Sasuke smirked as his friend got up, rubbing his head, swearing under his breath. "You have issues with gravity, don't you, Naruto?" Naruto gave Sasuke a menacing glare and jumped back up to his bunk. One of the Swedish men turned towards the other and asked him in Swedish, "Where's Finn?" The other merely shrugged. "On the first class side of things. This is your private promenade deck, sir." One of the stewards said to Sai, "Would you be requiring anything?" Sai said as he waved him away. "Excuse me." Inside Sakura's suite, Sakura and one of the maids were unpacking some of Sakura's paintings she had brung along with her, while Kabuto was directing the stewards where the luggage ought to go. "This one?" asked the maid. "No, it had a lot of faces on it. This is the one," said Sakura as she pulled it out of its casing. "Would you like all of them out, miss?" "Yes, we need a little color in this room." Sai walked in the room holding a bottle of wine in one hand and a glass of wine in the other. God, not those finger paintings again. They certainly were a great waste of money. The difference between Sai's taste in art and mine is the fact that I actually have some. They're fascinating, like being inside a dream or something. There's truth but no logic. "What's the artist's name?" asked the maid. "Something Picasso," replied Sakura absent-mindedly. "Something Picasso," scoffed Sai. "He won't amount to a thing. He won't. Trust me." A steward brought out Sai's safe. "Put it in the wardrobe," Kabuto said flatly. Idiot, thought Sakura as she left Sai in the room with Kabuto. All the while, Sai took another sip of wine and plunged the wine bottle in the bucket of ice that was on the table. The next day, at Cherbourg, a woman came aboard named Kurina Yuhi. We all called her Ren. History would call her the unsinkable Ren Yuhi. Kurina Yuhi came in and put down her luggage on the floor. "Well, I wasn't about to wait all day for you, son. Here." She shoved the bag into the steward's hands. "Think you can manage?" Her husband had struck gold somewhere out west, and she was what her mother called new money. Chapter 6: Ode to Titanic. By the next afternoon, we were steaming west from the coast of Ireland with nothing ahead of us but ocean. Captain Kakashi Hatake and First Class Officer Yamato stood looking out at the sea, marveling at it and all of its splendor. Kakashi turned towards Yamato. "Take her to sea, Yamato. Let's stretch her legs." "Yes, sir," replied Yamato. He went into the control room. "Full speed ahead," he ordered. "Yes, sir." Both men put in the order for fuel. Down below, 2 men received the order. "All speed ahead," said one of the men. The other shouted the order. "All speed ahead." Everyone began rushing, getting the order done. Down in the boiler rooms. "Alright, let's stoke them right up." One of the men barked the order. All the men began adding more coal to the fires. Up on deck, Sasuke and Naruto ran up to the bow to look out at the ocean. Sasuke stood up on the platform and held on to one of the cables. Naruto did the same. Both boys leaned over the railing to see the water deeper. They stood upright and looked over at the horizon. Sasuke tapped Naruto on the shoulder. "Hey, look, 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 look." Next to the ship, a single dolphin was swimming and leaping into the air as if almost it was controlling the swells. "There's another one. See him?" the Uchiha asked the Uzumaki. Afterwards, there was a whole pod of dolphins. Sasuke jumped onto the rail. "Woo! I can see the Statue of Liberty already," said Naruto. Very small, of course. Sasuke let go of the cable he was holding onto and raised his arms. "I'm the king of the world!" Both began to yell, whoop, and howl. In Sasuke's case, with delight. Sasuke leaned back and let the wind take him. First class dining saloon. "She's the largest moving object ever made by the hand of man in all of history," Ebisu said. "And our master shipbuilder, Mr. Saratobi, here designed her up from the Neoplates up. Well, I may have knocked her together, but the idea was Mr. Ebisu's, said Asuma Saratobi. He envisioned a steamer so grand in scale, and so luxurious in its appointments that its supremacy would never be challenged. And here she is, willed into solid reality. Sakura pulled out a cigarette and lit it. You know I don't like that, Sakura, Tsunade said in a hushed tone to her daughter. Sakura blew the smoke in her mother's face. She knows, said Sai, as he took the cigarette from Sakura and put it out. The waiter came over to Sai. We'll have the lamb, rare with a very little mint sauce. You like lamb, right, Cherry Blossom? Yeah, Sakura. She gave him a fake smile. She sighed, as she thought. Are you going to cut her meat for her too there, Sai? Asked Kurenai. He looked at her with the look of either detest or of utter disdain. Hey, who thought of the name, Titanic? Was it you, Ebisu? Asked Kurenai. Well, yes, actually, Ren. I wanted to convey sheer size, and the size means stability, luxury, and above all, strength. Do you know Dr. Frood, Mr. Ebisu? Asked Sakura. His ideas about the male preoccupation with size might be of particular interest to you. Kurenai smiled and nodded at Sakura's comments. Asuma struggled not to laugh, but his usual calm physique crumbled. What's gotten into you? Whispered Tsunade dangerously. Excuse me. Sakura got up from the table and left. I do apologize, said Tsunade. She's a pistol, sigh, Kurenai said. Hope you can handle her. Well, I may have to start minding what she reads from now on, won't I, Mrs. Kurenai? Sai said thickly, words dripping with pure sarcasm. He gave her his fake signature smile. Frood, who is he? Is he a passenger? Asked Ebisu, very much ticked. Chapter 7. First glance, you jump, I jump. Out on deck. A father was explaining to his daughter how the propellers work, while a few feet away Sasuke was sketching the two. Meanwhile, Naruto was engaged in conversation with a young man with a pineapple hairstyle. This ship is nice, huh? Stated Naruto. Yeah, it's an Irish ship, said the pineapple guy. It isn't English? Asked Naruto. Nope, it was built in Ireland. 15,000 Irishmen built this ship. Solid as a rock. Big Irish hands. Just then a steward passed by walking a pack of dogs that had owners in the first class. That's typical, said the pineapple dude flatly. First class dogs come down here to take a shit. Huh, lets us know where we rank in the scheme of things, said Sasuke. Like we could forget, Pineapple guy said as he blew smoke from his cigarettes. I'm Shikamaru Nara. Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto Uzumaki. Hey, Sasuke, do you make any money with your drawings? Sasuke's POV. That's when he saw her. Sakura Haruno walked up to the balcony to look at the horizon. She's beautiful, thought Sasuke. I wonder who she is. Shikamaru turned around to see what had caught the young Uchiha's eye. Oh, forget it, Uchiha. You'd have to have angels fly out of your ass to get next to the likes of her. Sakura's POV. Sakura glanced over to where Sasuke, Naruto, and Shikamaru were, but then she looked again, longer than she had previously. Who is that? Wondered Sakura, when she saw Sasuke looking at her. Naruto passed his hand in front of Sasuke's mesmerized face. Sai strutted over to Sakura and grabbed her arm and turned her to make her face him. Do you mind? Asked Sakura coldly. I hope you're proud of this, making a spectacle of yourself, said Sai sternly. Sakura left him to lecture himself. Ignorant bastard, Sakura thought. Like I give a damn about any of this shit. Later that evening, first class dining saloon. I saw my whole life as if I'd already lived it. An endless parade of parties, and cotillions, yachts, and polo matches. Always the same narrow people, the same mindless chatter. I felt like I was standing at a great precipice, with no one to pull me back, no one who cared or even noticed. On deck/stern, Sakura ran like mad, occasionally running into first-class passengers that were strolling on the promenade. She ran and ran until she reached the end, tears leaking from her eyes as she ran. Sasuke's POV. Sasuke was lying on the bench, smoking a cigarette, looking up at the starry sky. All of a sudden, he saw someone running. What the fuck? He thought until he realized that it was the same girl he saw earlier that same day. He bolted upright. Sakura's POV. Sakura finally stopped running. Short of breath, she made it to the stern. She looked down at the dark water. She began to climb up and over the railing. She faced the waves. Her thoughts of suicide were interrupted when, "Don't do it," she heard from behind her. She whipped around. "Stay back," she warned to the young man in front of her. Then she realized it was the same guy that was staring at her earlier that day. Don't come any closer. Sasuke walked closer to her, trying to coax her back. Come on, just give me your hand, I'll pull you back up. He extended his hand towards her. No, stay where you are. He came closer. I mean it, I'll let go. Sakura turned back to face the waves. She turned her head to look back at the young Uchiha. He had a cigarette in his mouth. Sasuke showed it to her as he took it out, to show that he was just going to flick it into the water. So I can get close enough to her without having to freak out, thought Sasuke. He put his hand in his pockets. No you won't, he said simply. Sakura faced him fully now. What do you mean, no I won't? Don't presume to tell me what I will and will not do. You don't know me. Sasuke looked at Sakura. Well, you should have done it already. You're distracting me. Go away. I've got to convince her somehow, thought Sasuke. I can't. I'm involved now. He began to take off his jacket. You let go and I'm gonna have to jump in there after you. Sakura looked at him with a shocked look of surprise on her face, merely because of the fact that this raven-haired comes out of nowhere and is trying to come to her rescue. Don't be absurd, you'll be killed. That should scare him, thought Sakura. I'm a good swimmer, Sasuke assured her. Damn, she thought. The fall alone would kill you, she argued. It would hurt, stated Sasuke, not giving up on her. I'm not saying it wouldn't. To tell you the truth, I'm more concerned about the water being so cold. Sakura looked at Sasuke, then back at the water. Back at Sasuke, back at the water. She finally turned to Sasuke before asking, How cold? Freezing, he said simply. Maybe a couple degrees over. He pulled off his boot. You ever been to Wisconsin? What? Random much? Thought Sakura. Well, they have some of the coldest winters around. I grew up there near Chippewa Falls. I remember when I was a kid, my dad and I, we went ice fishing out in this lake. Ice fishing is, you know where you, I know what ice fishing is, spat Sakura angrily. Sorry, you just seem like, you know, kind of a indoor girl. Nuts and ill-tempered, you really hit the jackpot this time, eh, Uchiha? Sasuke thought sarcastically. Anyway, I fell through some thin ice, and I'm telling you, water that cold, like right down there, it hits you like 1,000 knives stabbing you all over your body. You can't breathe. You can't think. At least not anything but the pain. Which is why I'm not looking forward to jumping in there after you. Like I said, I don't have a choice. I guess I'm kind of hoping you'll come back over the rail and get me off the hook here. You're crazy, exclaimed Sakura, and looked back at the water. That's what everybody says. But with all due respect, miss, I'm not the one hanging off the back of a ship. Here, come on. Come on, give me your hand. You don't want to do this. Sasuke extended his hand far enough so Sakura could reach. She took his hand and turned around and faced him. I'm Sasuke Uchiha. Sakura Haruno. I'm gonna have to get you to write that one down. Come on. Sakura stepped on the next rail, but her shoe got caught in her long dress and she slipped. Sakura began to scream. Sasuke grunted as he caught her so suddenly. I got you, come on. Sakura tried and slipped again. Help, please, she screamed. On another part of the deck, 3 officers heard Sakura's screams and ran off to see what was happening. Sasuke's POV. Sasuke struggled to pull Sakura back up. Please, get me, she screamed. Listen to me, Sasuke said, trying to reassure Sakura. I've got you, I won't let go. Now pull yourself up. Come on. Sasuke pulled Sakura up as she tried to pull her own self up. Sasuke pulled Sakura over and held her as he pulled her up. I've got you. They both fell on the deck. The 3 officers got to where Sasuke and Sakura were. What's all this, then? One of the officers inquired. Sasuke got off Sakura. The officers saw that Sakura's dress was pulled up higher than it was supposed to be, so the end of her stockings. Sakura looked extremely freaked. He looked at Sasuke's direction. The first thought that would come to mind would be rapist. You stand back and don't move an inch. Sasuke stood up. He stuck his hand in his pockets. Ah, great. More bad news, thought Sasuke. Fetch the Master-at-Arms. Later, the MAA, Master-at-Arms, put cuffs on Sasuke's wrists. This is completely unacceptable. What made you think that you could put your hands in my fiancé? Exclaimed Sai. Look at me, you filth. Sai, said Sakura meekly. He shoved Sasuke. What do you think you were doing? Sai, stop. It was an accident, exclaimed Sakura. An accident? Said Sai. It was. Stupid really, I was leaning over and I slipped. Nobody looked convinced. I was leaning far over to see the propellers, said Sai. Propellers, and I slipped, and I would have gone overboard, but Mr. Uchiha here saved me, and almost went over himself. She wanted to see the propeller. Was that the way of it? Asked the MAA. Sasuke looked at Sakura. She gave him a pleading and desperate look. Yeah, that was pretty much it, said Sasuke. Well, the boy's a hero then. Good for you, son. Well done. So it's all well and back to your brandy, eh? Sakura smiled at Sasuke, and he returned it with a smile as well. The MAA removed the cuffs. Perhaps a little something for the boy, he stated as Sai left. Of course, Mr. Yakushi, I think a 20 should do it. Is that the going rate for saving the woman you love? Asked Sakura. Sakura is displeased. What to do, I know. Perhaps you could join us for dinner tomorrow evening to regale our group with your heroic tale. Sure, count me in, Sasuke said coolly. Good, then it's settled, said Sai. This should be good, he whispered over as they walked away. Sasuke whistled to get Kabuto's attention. He motioned him over. Can I, bum a smoke? Sasuke took 2 cigarettes. He tucked one behind his ear and stuck the other in his mouth. You'll want to tie those things. It's interesting. Sasuke pushed his bangs from his face. The young lady slipped so suddenly, and you still had time to remove your jacket and your shoes. Shit, Sasuke thought as Kabuto left. Sakura is sweet. The music room from Sakura's music box was playing a sweet tune. A knock was heard on the door. Sai stepped inside. I know you've been melancholy. I don't pretend to know why. I intended to save this until the engagement gala next week, but I thought tonight. Sai revealed an incredible blue heart-shaped necklace. Good gracious, gasped Sakura. Perhaps as a reminder of my feelings for you. Is it, diamond? Yes. 56 carats to be exact. He put it around Sakura's neck. It was worn by Louis XVI, and they called it Le Coeur de la Mer, the heart of the ocean, they both said. Yes, said Sai. Well, it's for royalty. We are royalty, Sakura. You know, there's nothing I couldn't give you. There's nothing I'd deny you if you would not deny me. Now open your heart to me, Sakura. Her hand snaked to the heart-shaped diamond. 愛してる